Hey guys, and welcome to Serious Sam Classics Revolution, the first encounter, level 2 Sand Canyon on I Am Ugh-Zan. Difficulty getting all... I need a better intro for this. This is level 2, and we're gonna go over this hill, where probably one of the more memorable battles of Serious Sam takes place. It's a little bit different on this difficulty, actually, and also on Serious, but let's do this.
Yourself.
So... on this difficulty, you get 2 sets of clear skeletons and 2 sets of kamikaze people. And this is a little bit different from other difficulties in that on other difficulties you basically just get 4 sets of kamikaze people. There's basically 4 spawns, and they only spawn more things the moment you kill one of them. So if you first take care of all the kamikaze dudes, then afterwards you only got these clear skeletons to take care of. Kamikaze people only have the attack of exploding into you, and they also have less health than these guys, so it's definitely a lot easier to take care of them first. Plus, their attack can be a lot more damaging if you're not really killing them before they touch you, and you know, that's kind of a good idea. So I like to take care of them first. Plus, these guys, as long as you just sort of walk diagonally into them, they will never hit you with their melee attack. And then we have bulls. Bulls are the reason we still have a double-barreled shotgun, because it's actually quite useful against these guys, seeing as you can use it against a distance, and it does do a little bit more damage than the knife as well, and you only need 3 shots when shooting properly, which is actually quite tricky to do, but oftentimes 3 or 4 shots will be enough. And the way bulls work is kind of awkward, because if you're too close to them, they'll just stop and do their other melee attack, which is not really chargy. And that attack's bad. I'm going to just jump here and just get a bunch of people to come at me. But they have another attack, which they do when they stop moving close to you. And if that attack hits you, they can just sort of stun... well, not really stun lock, I guess, but just use that attack over and over and just deal a whole bunch of damage. So to get them to charge at you, you need to make sure that they've noticed you and that they're running sort of a predetermined distance towards you as well, so they don't immediately stop. Because the moment they see you, they might just stop instantly if you're standing next to them. But if they've already ran a while, then they don't do that, and it's all a bit confusing, really. But basically, just try to keep your distance as much as possible. You just saw a thing spawn in the distance over yonder. And that's a health power-up right there in case we need it. But I'm not going to worry about that health power-up too much. But I am going to worry about the things that come with it, which is a bunch of enemies over here, which spawn sort of eventually. They have kind of a weird spawn rate. There's this big spawn rectangle over here. Sometimes they all spawn at once, sometimes they don't. I'm not really sure what causes it, but if you kill one, another one comes. Sometimes there are several enemies inside one another, and I think if I just walk about here for a bit, there'll probably be a second clear skeleton, and also a second bull standing in the exact same spots as their sort of counterparts. Like there. Right now there's 2 bulls there standing exactly inside each other. It takes a while for them to see us, so you can just sort of lure them one by one and not really have to deal with the hassle of them too much, but eventually we'll have to take care of them, and hopefully it won't go too bad. You can actually skip the sort of memorable battle against the kamikazes using a rocket jump, because the way spawns work in this game is that there's basically just large rectangles, invisible ones, that you run into, which is actually easier to see on a level editor, which pretty much spawn exactly from that part where the shadow ends and the sun begins, and all the way to that bit, and it goes all the way up there as well. But you can actually rocket jump past it by just hitting yourself with the rocket launcher, as long as you are on normal difficulty or above. Because that's the only difficulties where you actually take damage from the rocket launcher, and you can actually just jump past it. But the battle's not really that hard, so generally it would be a better idea not to do that, because rocket jumping takes your health away, and it's fiddly, and the spawn trigger is quite large. So doing it can usually just cost you more life than it's worth. But it is a thing you can do. It is a thing you can do, and we are still about killing everyone, so that's exactly what we're going to do, which is why we picked up that single armor shard, which is the only thing here that actually spawns enemies. Everything else you can just pick up, no worries. So you're constantly hearing the sound of an eagle, and there's 2 reasons for that, one of which is that it is a just default noise that this level produces, but there's also enemies that make that noise. And if we walk over here, touch that door, and then immediately run away, we will get a secret room, secret number 1, and we are going to jump over here, where secret number 2 is hiding. This jump is fiddly as hell, but it is possible to do. And that is where secret number 2 is, the passage to a hidden valley. And from here, we're going to shoot this tree because it's going to get in the way because its hitbox is ridiculous. And then we're going to shoot 2 rockets into that direction. There are like 5 or 6 harpies in that tiny room. And because we are playing on I Am Ugh-Zan difficulty, there's a chance that some of them are on fire. Which it makes it that you don't want to just stand there, because then they'll all just do their melee attack and you either catch fire or just die in some other way. It's not really that great, really. And there are enemies that spawn here as well, but only after you've picked up every ammo power-up over here. So you can very safely just run around here for a while killing these dudes. And it makes it quite easy. As long as you just walk back and forth with enough distance between you and the enemy, then they will never actually attack you with their melee attack. And even if they start, like, getting close enough to do their melee attack, you can just shoot them once and they'll be stunned like that. Because you can stun them with literally every gun you have, and it just makes them impossible to die against, which is nice. And yeah, now that area is safe, so we can start picking up ammo power-ups over here. You can actually pick up just 7 ammo power-ups, so that there's just 1 left. And then for as far as I know, enemies just won't spawn. So if you need like this ammo type specifically, you just leave one of these behind and then cool stuff. But the moment you pick up the last one, friends spawn. There's going to be a whole bunch of harpies here, which is kind of annoying. Small note about who's on fire and who's on ice and who isn't. It's sort of random in that there are some enemies which always seem to be on fire or ice or whatever. And then there are some enemies which are sometimes on fire and sometimes are not. It's kind of confusing, honestly, but it's just a weird system. If you load the game, sometimes enemies will be on fire and sometimes they won't be. It changes everything, which is why I have some peculiar strategies sometimes, but it's usually just to make sure I don't get attacked by an enemy within melee range. Because they might be on fire, and fire will kill me, and that's bad. And not being dead is good. I'm going to walk all the way to the left edge over here, so they start following me around, and I can more easily like circle around them. And that way, we don't have to worry about dying so much. I'm just going to look behind me to make sure that there's no dudes there, but looks like we're pretty safe. And we can just go back and forth in this large area over here, and we should be entirely fine. Now, we can either go back there where there's probably nothing, or we can check the amount of kills we have, because if we're at 52, then we got all of them, but we're at 50, so we still require to kill 2 more harpies, one of which is that one. I was wondering why the music was still playing, but that would be why. And I'm gonna give it like a 90% chance that the last one's still in this area, but it was just too far away to see us. And I'm so bad at this jump, I really am, but it is definitely possible without using your rocket launcher. But often, this you might have already seen him. He's like all the way over there, and usually the hills just block your block his vision to you, or her vision, I guess. And it just stays there forever. But we got 52 kills now, which means we have killed them all. And we can move on to the next area. But first we're going to go into the little secret area over there. There weren't just harpies in there. There were actually other things as well. And I want the things. The things please me and they make me feel better. But you can still hear that eagle eagle noise. Harpies make that noise, but again, it's also just ambient sounds that happens to play in this level, which is great. Good combination of things to have an enemy noise also just be ambience. Real nice. So you might have already heard some blah 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 coming from this general direction. Let's see if they make that sound again. Probably not. I'm gonna look backwards and walk like this, because there's 2 guys over here, and I don't like to deal with them very much. If you pick up either of these 2 power-ups, it's gonna spawn more enemies, so you want to probably take care of these guys first. And we're gonna use some of our rather large quantity of rockets in that hallway, because a bunch of clear skeletons are gonna come from that direction. And they might again be on fire, and fighting them here is kind of awkward. I don't really like this place for fighting a large quantity of clear skeletons very much. It's not impossible, obviously, but shooting a couple rockets in their general direction doesn't hurt that much. If you attack them at the right time, they actually get stunned by your knife, but if they're still technically in their attack animation, they will not get stunned. So that's cool. And we're gonna go down here now, where there's things happening.
I'm over here, you stupid headless freaks.
So, you can actually damage those guys by just shooting a rocket over there, and the splash damage will kill them. But, there's a downside to that. I guess he just keeps walking. If you kill all 3 kamikazes that were running there, rock, by the way, but whatever. If you kill all 3 kamikaze and that spawns an enemy, then a sequence of events starts happening, and I don't want that to happen before I enter that room. So we are just going to move forward and backward and then forward again, and then we're going to go into that room and try to kill all the kamikazes. Because what happens after killing the kamikazes is that some doors open, and that's bad. So there's a couple things here. One notable thing is the kamikaze that runs into me. This weirdly colored wall is here as well, with the Harper behind it, and he's not on fire, which is good because otherwise I'd be dead right now. So good stuff. But there's also a secret Tommy gun and a wall that instantly pushes you back out again. If you don't grab the Tommy gun quickly enough, then you won't get the secret attached to it, because the secret is actually just walking into that hallway. And also, I'm staying really close to this right wall over here, and I got hit again, but it's kind of worthwhile, because there's actually a bunch of doors here as well which open, and they contain more of these guys. They die in 1 hit from basically any gun. Actually, I'm not sure if they die in 1 hit from the, in this difficulty, but they die quickly enough. But if you stand in the middle of the room, they will all just come at you and you just die probably. You might survive, but it's overall just not a good idea. But if you stand against any of the walls, then only one side will actually attack you. And since the secret Tommy gun's over there, which is very helpful against these guys, you might as well. So you might hear groans coming from this direction. These 2 guys, for as far as I know, are always on fire. Oh my god. And that was actually really lucky. Their melee attack range is not quite their touchy range, which is nice, because otherwise I would have, again, died. And that would have been kind of bad. But we managed to not have that happen. Killing all 3 of those Nars spawns this dude, but he is not much of a problem. And finally we have green guy over here. He throws bombs, and if he dies, he explodes like that. And if you get hit by the bombs, then that's not great. I'm gonna go and grab this health power up, and because it's a secret area and I tend to forget it exists. And then we're gonna go over here and grab some armor shards, because it spawns enemies. I'm going to use a shotgun here against this guy, just in case he just happens to be on fire that day. And that way you won't have to touch anyone. And that's just lovely. Finally, we also have this armor shard over here, which is going to spawn a bunch of friends as well. We're going to take it from this angle, walk in this direction. Everyone will miss us that way, and we can actually go here to fight the clear skeletons, which is a little bit easier than in that tiny claustrophobic room. So fortunately, we got out of that one fairly reasonably. There's one dude still stuck in there, which is actually kind of awkward, because a clear skeleton that's stuck has a tendency of hitting you very, very good-like, and it's not great. And there's still that armor thing over there, which we're going to grab by jumping on top of this thing right now, and stealing it like that. If you fall down, you take falling damage. If you jump down, you don't. I don't know why. It's a higher distance, but I guess it just prepares you for the fall more. But that's how falling damage works in this game. And it's something you need to be prepared for, otherwise you're going to take slight amounts of damage which you don't need to take. And we're going to move forward now. This is a door. It's going to close behind us in just a moment, but we're going to use our rockets to not be miserable. Because we're going to walk into this hallway. A bunch of Nars are going to spawn. That one's on fire. A bunch of them are on fire, actually. And we're going to jump backwards. If he wasn't on fire, I would have jumped forwards instead. Over him. And that would have been preferable, honestly, because then we wouldn't have to deal with this nonsense right here. But since that guy was on fire, I didn't want to risk it, and instead I jumped backwards and hoped that none of the ones behind me were on fire, which worked out, fortunately. But sometimes he's not on fire, and then you can just jump over him, because if you jump on a slope going upwards, you actually jump higher, and you can just jump on top of them. And here's 2 more dudes. But yeah, you can actually just shoot backwards into the hallway that way if you jump over him, and you generally won't take rocket launcher damage, which is good. So this spawns one more friend, and we're just going to take care of him real quick, like. And now we should be at like 140. I want to say that's the right number. You can't really miss enemies outside of that guy and like the armor shard dude, because like that door closed and you won't be able to go back again. But I still like to check, because I tend to forget that guy, that last clear skeleton exists, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that one, cool. But it all worked out this time around. And this leads us to this area, which is actually the final area of this level. Saving all my ammo as much as possible outside of the occasional rocket. We could have done this without using cheesy strats with the rocket launcher in the previous level. but I elected not to because I didn't feel like it. Like basically, I could have just used, I think it's either 7 or 8 rockets against each of the red biomechanoids, which shoot rockets and stuff. But again, my strategy worked, and this makes it just a little bit safer for this level as well, because currently we're at 62, and I think at least 30 of the rockets we found are in this level, so, you know, it all adds up to something that doesn't look as cheating that much. These dudes are a little bit invisible. You might not be able to see them very well, but I know they exist, so that's good. And another harpy. Tommy gun really, really good against harpies. Would definitely recommend. Also pretty good against anything that takes, like, stun damage. Like, anything that gets stunned when you shoot it. And killing that kamikaze in particular spawns 2 more invisible dudes, which is a little bit mean and hard to see, but it also spawns some kamikazes, and I'm a little bit more worried about those guys than these guys, because these don't really deal that much damage. They're just hard to see and tend to block you, which is sort of the main purpose of their existence, because as long as you move, their melee attack should never hit. You might hear like the punching noise, but that's all it does. So we're going to move over here, grab those shotgun shells to spawn some more friends, which are just nonsense because they run over the hills like this. And hill movement is super slidey, and it makes enemies slide all over the place and sort of unpredictable. But if you just walk backwards like that, then usually they should go in that direction. Which is, you know, good. Going for the usually instead of something guaranteed. I think this or this spawns more friends as well, which just jump backwards because they use their range attack first, which is not really as damaging or really as anythingy. It doesn't really do a whole lot as long as you just move. If you move horizontally away from them, their range attack will never hit you, so yeah, not much of a threat indeed. There's a boulder over there. It's the worst boulder in the world. You can actually just grab that and just move back again, but if you're not looking at it, then I guess it could hit you. I think technically you can destroy this boulder with like 1,000 rockets, but I don't have that many. So we're not going to do that against the worst boulder in the game. And that's where bulls come in. So I'm actually just going to kill these with rockets because I don't like dealing with bulls at the same time as all this other nonsense. And it makes it so I don't have to think so much. Plus we got some extra rockets from the previous level anyway. And there's still an invisible dude, which is fair enough, but again, rockets are nice to have. Rockets are just nice to have in general, and it's not really worthwhile to waste 40-ish rockets on a bunch of dudes in level 1. Not really worth the time. You can do it with a shotgun as well, but it's just not really that great, honestly. So there's another harpy. We could just take care of her in any way we like. I've elected to use the pistol this time around because it makes her fly up really high, and that amuses me. Like, she pretty much becomes invisible after a point, but, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. Dude over there, not much of a threat. And these guys, kind of a threat, I guess, but again, we have the knife, the strongest weapon in the game. And like you see, if you just wait a while, they actually do get stunned, and you can just immediately attack again and kill them, which is lovely. Finally, a clear skeleton over there, which is on ice, but that's not really going to do a whole lot. Also, if you move away from them in a particular way, they sometimes don't use their melee attack immediately, and you can stun them that way as well, but I'm not really sure how it works. I think you have to be, like, next to them somehow, but it requires some weird movement. It only works, like, half the time for me. So, that's going to spawn a dude who's on fire, apparently, and also this dude, which is the main contender for biggest asshole in this level, because, man, the amount of times you're going to run into that guy by accident is just too high. It is such a nasty enemy because there's all this nonsense going on in front of you, and then there's just this one kamikaze behind you, and kamikazes deal a lot of damage. You don't want to get hit by them, so preferably you want to avoid that, but we did. We came out of that all right. We killed a blue biomechanoid, which usually shoots lasers, and in this difficulty it takes 2 rockets to take care of them, 1 rocket on Sirius, so, you know, that's pretty cool. We're going to touch that to spawn our little bull friend, which almost decided to do his usual short-range melee attack, but we got out of that scot-free somehow. It's kind of telling when they suddenly just, like, turn around while not really, like, while standing still, basically. That means they're gonna use that attack, and it's not something you ever want to experience. They also have kind of weird attack hitboxes. Also, there's a secret area here, I guess, and it spawns a bunch of dudes. Like, bull, and I forgot to jump, which is why I took falling damage, but, like, bull attack hitboxes are just weird, because I think they have a separate one for damaging and for launching you, because if you get hit by one, it launches you in the air, and you might not even take damage. You might not even take damage from those guys. I'm just going to quickly check if I have all kills, which I do. Cool. And we're just going to leave the level just like that, because we're actually done. That was actually the end of the level. But yeah, bulls are strange, and I still don't really fully understand them, but I've gotten... If you jump on top of them, I think that's where their, like, damage hitbox is, because I've taken, like, 80 damage or something when trying to jump over them, and literally nothing when just trying to move out of the way, but still getting launched. Oh yeah, in the story we're getting 4 elements, which are these ball things which with lines and occasional pictures and things on them, but... The story is basically just we're getting 4 balls and then we're going to a place to put them down, and then stuff happens. Which, that's going to be a future video where the stuff is going to happen. But yeah, that was level 2 on I Am Ugh-Zan difficulty. We managed to still kill everyone. Our playing time is 124 hours, which you can sort of like tell the amount of time between recording sessions, because playing time is basically just the amount of time in literal days between each play session. It just keeps counting, and I'm not sure why, but it does. Also the dates there apparently, so you can even more so tell when everything started to happen. But that takes us to level 3, which we're going to do next time. I will kill these guys first, so I don't have to worry about them next time. And then we're going to try and kill everyone over here, get all the secrets, and do a bunch of cool stuff. So I hope you enjoyed it so far. Next time we play, we are going to do level 3. Bye-bye.